question is about the gap between the end of the out breath and the beginning of the in breath. And you're saying that it seems like you always have the feeling like you've missed something because suddenly it's there and you missed the beginning of it. It does come on rather suddenly, rather abruptly. That is the nature of it. But it's very good to be aware that your mind is not necessarily as rapid as it could be. You have a sense that there are subtleties of sensation, the beginning of the sensation, that you're not yet really aware of. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. To even have that awareness is very good. And then this can be a focal point for you to continue to investigate that. So as we go along, the quality of the awareness of the breath and of everything else becomes progressively clearer and clearer. And what we want to be able to do is to have a mind that functions rapidly enough and is powerful and clear enough in its capacity to be able to just observe the way that thoughts arise and pass away, and the way that not just the breath but any other kind of sensation arises and passes away, and to see the nature of those sensations, like is a common sound that you hear, is it one sound or is it many sounds? And with physical sensations, do they disappear abruptly? Do they leave some kind of residue in the mind? Thoughts and mental images, do they disappear the same way that sensations do? Or do they have their own different way and quality of passing away? So over time, all of these kinds of things begin to become more readily apparent, and they are a reflection of the observing power of your mind increasing. So short answer is just yes. Keep looking, and when you sense that there's something there that you're not yet quite fully aware of, go ahead and try to catch it on the next go around. Yes.
Is that a habit kind of sensation?
Is there which?
Habit.
A habit?
Heart.
Oh, heart.
Yeah.
Heartbeat.
Yeah.
Heartbeat. Yes, sometimes you become aware of your heart's beat.
It's kind of strong and a lot of detail.
Yes.
So that's kind of sensation.
That's part of it, yes. Yes, right. You'll become aware of the beating of the heart. Yes?
I've got another one. Sometimes I feel the air really at the front of my nose where it's entering, and then where it's leaving. It's easier to feel the entering than the leaving, but my question is, sometimes I don't so much, and I'm wondering how important is it to try to limit what you're paying attention to be just right there at the front of your nose versus, back behind, because, I don't mean chest, I'm not going down there, I'm just saying, sometimes there's just sort of a feeling that the breathing is happening. I don't literally feel the air contacting the skin, and does it matter, or should I always be searching for that feeling right there?
No. Allow yourself to explore, to experiment, to investigate, try at times when it seems appropriate, expanding the area at which you're perceiving sensations in. The other thing that you'll notice is that your breath, of course, changes in rate and depth. And sometimes the respirations will be very short, sometimes they'll be long and slow, sometimes they'll be deeper and shallower. And one of the things that you'll notice is that when the breath is very shallow, that you don't necessarily feel it as strongly in the same place as you do when it is stronger. So, and these are all things, as you become aware of these things, and as I say, explore, experiment, and investigate. And of course, they all are ways of keeping yourself engaged with the breath, and they help to improve the quality of your concentration. So yeah, by all means, play around with it and see where it takes you. As you go along, at some point, you will naturally, almost irresistibly, start to feel a larger and larger area, and you may become aware of the breath in your entire body. Although initially that may seem impossible. How can you feel the breath in your toes and the tops of your ears and things like that? But you actually can. But as your mindful awareness strengthens and as your concentration improves, there will be a natural tendency that you just can't help being aware of more sensations over a larger area, because your mind's just become that much more sensitive actually to what's always been there.
Yeah. So just one more, along the same line, but then you over Michael.
Take your time.
Perspective, like where I am relative to the breath. I'm just pretty sure you're supposed to kind of be sort of like in your nose, kind of like you're watching, and the breath is sort of coming at you and going. But sometimes do you recommend moving that perspective or not? Should you pick a spot and stick there, or should you kind of move it around and see how it feels?
There's no need to move it around, and that's a bit artificial and contrived. That's really as much imagination as it is actual perception. But on the other hand, it's not at all unusual. If you are observing with your mind, it will have some of the quality as though you were actually looking at a particular point. And normally, in terms of our spatial representation, that point is somewhere, if not right here, maybe a few inches in front of the nose, but it's somewhere in that general area. But it's not at all unusual at some point for it to feel as though that place is moving to somewhere else. And that's all right. Just notice it. Just notice it and notice when it comes back. Sometimes it will, just as soon when you notice it, it will suddenly go back to where it's supposed to be. But it won't necessarily. Sometimes it'll get to all kinds of strange spaces, which can trigger you to wonder about that and want to think about that, which is completely normal, but it's best to just as much as possible notice it, be aware of it, allow yourself to be interested in it, but not really think about it. Just keep on going with the practice and see what happens.
Interested, but not think about it. Okay.
That's Michael.
I may have interpreted not precisely what you said yesterday, but my recollection is that you said the continuity of awareness and mindfulness is very important. It's not very good if, say, for example, if we take like a block of time and just complete, just try to, indulge in rest and and not be mindful. That's very, very counterproductive to
Yes.
to the. So say for example, if I have like a long day at work, I go home. It's not a good idea for me to turn on the TV and have a big meal and then just indulge it.
Well, yesterday I was talking about during a meditation retreat.
Yeah, but still, yeah.
But the idea is that yes, during the retreat you don't really want to do the equivalent of popping in a movie and
eat at the same time and be mindless for it.
right,
Like,
and just letting go and being mind. You don't want to do the equivalent of that. Now, what you will find, and what some people have already mentioned to me that their experience is that when they remain continuously mindful for a longer period of time, that they're finding that they notice that they become tired. And so, there's a couple of different ways that you can be mindful. And one is you're sort of just, you're just diving right into what you're aware of, and you're just sort of saturating that with your awareness. But you can also continue to be mindfully aware, but in a more relaxed way. You can, instead of, pouncing on everything that comes up and, just thoroughly going into it, you can rest your mind in an easier state of just being aware of whatever is present, whatever is arising and passing away in terms of the sensations and your mind's reaction to the sensations. And you'll find that is a way of resting. And that is also a very productive state of mind, because you actually become more aware of the variety of things and the variety of reactions to your mind than when you're just down there with the microscope. So you don't need to always be down there with a microscope examining everything minutely. Sometimes you can take a more relaxed perspective. You don't lose the quality of mindfulness, and you're still aware of whatever is arising and whatever is passing away and whatever else is coming in its turn. But you don't need to chase it quite so intently.
so you're not as analytical or inquisitive about phenomena.
Yeah, you might say you're not so investigative.
What about would you say it's a little bit duller, or it's about, that the clarity is the same, except that you're not as investigative?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be duller, and you don't want to slip into dullness. You want to remain clearly aware, but without that intensity of investigation, that, covering it, saturating it.
I see. So it can be tired and mindful all at the same time.
So if you find that you're starting to experience, the sense of this being rather tiring, allow yourself to go into that more relaxed and open state while staying clearly aware of whatever's happening. Trying not to be staying in the present. That's the main thing, is to stay in the present rather than allowing your mind to diffuse itself into other times and places. And also as much as possible without slipping into that retreat of dullness.
So from what you're saying, it sounds like under most circumstances we should be investigative.
You should, yes. Whenever there's no reason not to be, you should be, investigating the sensations of the breath, investigating the reactions of the mind, investigating the sensations of walking, investigating the sights or sounds that capture your attention for a moment, and things like that. But when you find that too tiring, you can continue to be aware, but just let it pass through you more. Okay?
So even outside of a retreat situation, you would highly
outside of a retreat situation, there are going to be those times when the stress and the ability of your mind and your body to deal with the stress might dictate that, yeah, it's time to stick a movie in the old CD player. And that's all right. But, I think what you discover through practicing mindfulness is that you love to be mindful. So even when you're going to take a break and watch a movie, somehow you're more mindfully, you're watching a movie with more mindfulness than you used to. And that you don't need to do that as often. The other thing is that it does become not just easier, in a way it provides its own energy, the satisfaction of really being aware and really being present. It provides its own kind of energy. So,
It takes a lot of patience, though. Sometimes it's not always easy.
It doesn't always happen without a certain amount of effort, but it does become easier and easier. And what happens is you become really aware of those times when, actually the physical brain gets tired and it won't function as well. And you say, wow, I can't be aware the way that I usually like to be, and you're aware of that lack and that loss. And so, of course, you're compassionate towards this poor brain and you give it some rest. But you really notice the difference. You notice the difference between when you really need some rest, when you really sort of overtaxed what your capacities are, and where you just really can't be mindful because the instrument of mindfulness is not functioning. And then those other times where there's just more I don't want to do this anymore. Let's do something more
More exciting.
more exciting. That's right. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
Only because no one else had any.
That's the only reason?
Well, no, not the That's the only reason I'm willing to ask yet another question. So here's one that's really basic, and I kind of know, but I'm also not sure how I would answer this when someone asks me this question. So what is the advantage of being in the present moment?
That's one of those really obvious questions.
You can collect real data because that's the only time you can collect real data. Every time else, you're just imagining.
There are several things, but one thing is that it is what really exists, and it's what's really happening. It is also the greatest source of contentment and satisfaction that there is. It's also the place that you're going to learn those things that are most worth learning. There is a place, of course, for planning for the future, and there is a place in life for analyzing the past and extracting what lessons you can from it. But the present is really where the best of everything is. All of the stuff about the past and the future, the lessons that we extract from the past and the plans we make for the future, are all rooted in that same craving that is wanting things to be some other way than what they actually are. And so, as much as we might enjoy our planning, it's still feeding and supporting that idea that somehow we're going to be happier in some other time, in some other place than where we are right now. Whereas being in the present is a discovery of what it really means to be and to be a part of this whole that we are a part of. To tap into that. It takes a little while to do. I mean, at first, it seems like there's nothing happening in the present, and it's really kind of boring. And then the bell rings and you realize, well, no, the present is lunchtime. That's not so good.
There's this great commercial, they don't play it anymore, but the kid goes off to college and the parents redo the room, right?
Uh-huh.
And the kid trying different things, and one of them is a meditation room, and they're sitting there, and the man says, inner peace is boring.
Right. I never saw that. That's a good one. I like it. Okay, well, I'll see you again this evening. Oh, you had another.
No, I was just going to share what he was talking about. I experience that almost every day with my mother, that she always wants to be somewhere else instead of where she's at the moment. And it's actually very painful for me to deal with that. And I constantly, every day I explain to her, it's hard to explain to somebody older, have to be more present. And it's painful to see somebody going through that because they're never happy at the moment. And then you, as a person sharing life with her, it makes it exhausting to keep trying to give her things to make her happy.
Right.
And it kind of exhausts you to be around people like that. So she has taught me how to enjoy the present more.
It is, but it's a great opportunity for you to examine your experience of it being painful and your desire to have it be different than what it is. So.
I just oh, sorry. That's it. No, nothing.
Should we go ahead and have lunch?
No, yeah, let's have lunch. It's not important.
All right, sure. But if it's at all important,
No,
come back.
no.
All right, let's go ahead.